Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to the Growth Street Podcast. We are now on episode 17, and I could not be more excited to be sat across Neel Amin, a senior vehicle engineer at BMW. Neel, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
It's weird to call you Neel because I usually call you Neil Massa, so calling you Neel Amin is funny. But I'm excited to talk to you. I think, again, we haven't had an engineer on the show yet, and seeing that you're a senior engineer now, and you've lived in a lot of crazy places in the world doing your job and chasing your kind of career and your passion, I'm excited to kind of hear about your stories, what you've learned, and really just hear what all the things that you've learned about your kind of life so far in this space. So I'm excited to talk to you about it.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I've been with BMW 18 years.
Wow.
No one stays at a company unless they like it.
Yeah.
So I never really envisioned myself being in the automotive field, but that's kind of where my life path took me. You know, I landed a job at BMW. I really loved it. BMW is also a great company. They give you good opportunities to move around, try different things. So, you know, I started off in New Jersey, and then we moved to South Carolina. We were there for a good 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
In between that, I was an expat in Germany. So that was a great experience we had there. And, you know, now we're back here in New Jersey and just keeping my career going. Yeah,
you're globetrotting.
Yeah, exactly.
New Jersey to the south, and then all the way to Germany. So, like, for you in this whole experience, I know you said you never expected to be in this space. I have always known you to be in this space. Like, my entire life I've known you, you were like the car guy to me, right? Mm-hmm. And even now, it's like you're so passionate about Formula One, you're passionate about cars, BMW, all of these things. So you never, you talk about getting started in this. What was that journey like getting into this industry now? And I'd love to hear more about that.
So I've always been a car guy. I've always liked cars. I've always really been passionate about BMW especially. And growing up, it was always like working for them had like an intimidation factor, like rallying and racing and everything. There's some intimidation behind it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this is a goal you'll never achieve. You can't get there. You can't be there. It's for an elite. It's different. So that's the kind of mindset I went to school with and, studied, but never thought that, hey, eventually you can get there. You can do something you love doing. And that's where I am right now. So.
And how's it been so far? Like how's the last couple of years been? I know you've been in it for a long time for the same company. I know that a lot of people nowadays don't do that.
Mm-hmm. You're right. A lot of people don't do that, but like I said, I love it. I really like it. I think I landed this job quite early in my career. So I did go to school. My goal was to be a wireless telecom engineer. Only reason is that time was a .com boom. They were the highest paid engineers. Yeah. Cell phones were just coming out. So it's like I was looking at the money.
Yeah.
But I graduated 2002. Unfortunately, there's a big market crash at that time. So Qualcomm, all the big companies, they just took a tank. So I worked at GE. I worked at medical systems for a while. I liked it. And I was like, you know what, let me just put myself out there. So, I just started throwing my resumes out there. Yeah. And then I got my first job at a company called Alpine.
Okay.
And Alpine they make
Alpine Racing, right? Like Formula One, or is it different?
No. They do car audio.
Okay, gotcha.
And I really liked it. So we used to do design navigation and stuff like that. And then, as an engineer, then you start working for your OEMs. Those are original equipment manufacturers. Yeah. So I started working at Mercedes, and you start to see that it's not a very intimidating field. It's something that I enjoy. It's something I like. And that's when I realized, like, hey, if I really want to be in this, I have to make contacts. I have to know people, because it's putting your resume out there. That's great. Yeah. But big companies like these receive thousands of resumes, and it's literally a keyword search that defines your.
If you're getting an interview or not.
So it's almost like winning a lottery kind of thing, right? But through that job, then I started to make contacts, and then I started applying. And actually, my first job, funny enough, I was hired by a guy who was working at BMW. We met at Vegas. Okay. We hung out. We partied all night.
Yeah.
And then he called me. And then when I submitted my job, I didn't even know he was interviewing.
Wow.
But he called me. He's like, I knew it was you, kind of thing, So that's how it got. Crazy. So it's like, you never think that someone you spent time with in Vegas that you were at a club with
interviewing you for
is going to be a guy interviewing and hiring you,
Yeah.
It's just, that's when I realized that making these connections in life, networking, putting yourself out there, that's really very important. That's really what's going to get your foot in the door. And once it's in the door, it's also going to get you places as well.
Yeah. And I think, You know, when I hear that, I think it's so funny because it just shows the value that people have in this journey. Like I feel like again, you still have to have a relatively good foundation. Like you still said, you worked at so many of these companies, you had experience in that. But it's just funny how he was the person that ended up interviewing you.
Yeah.
Was he a hard interviewer or no?
Not at all. Not
Because
at
he was
all.
like, I already know you at this point.
Yeah, we knew each other. You know, we had a little bit of contact, so it wasn't. You know, and then once you're in, then obviously you start to build your network even more. You know, and then so I got a job here, but you know, it was kind of a temporary position where your contract gets renewed year after year. So I was like, you know, I want to get something a little more permanent. So, you know, and then I had the chance of going down to Spartanburg and the plant, and I really liked it. I mean, this is just a huge scale plant. You know, they build like over 1,000 cars a day.
Wow.
And it's
A day?
mind-boggling.
1,000 cars a day?
1,000 cars a day. So it's really mind-boggling
crazy.
when you see this scale and when you see these luxury cars coming off the line, one after the other.
Wow.
As a 24-year-old kid, it's very impressionable. You're like, wow, this is amazing, you know? Like, these are like 50, 60, 70, $100,000 cars, and we're just pumping them out. And, you know, just to be a part of that workforce to actually build these, that kind of fascinated me. So obviously then the next thing when I was there, you put your seeds out there and, you know, you make some contacts out there, and eventually some guy calls me up, hey, Neel, by the way, there's an opening. Are you interested? You know, then, yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do it, you know.
So you were already in South Carolina so you were still a contractor in South Carolina when you went there?
No.
Or you went there as a permanent role?
I went there as a permanent
Okay,
role.
and then you said you're only 24 at the time? Or how old were you when you went to South Carolina?
I was 25. Yeah,
okay.
25.
And what was that like? Again, so you get there now. Now you're working for BMW. Like, again, most people, again, I want them to envision this first job experience. What's it like now? Now you're there. You sign the contract. You show up into the office. What was like? What stood out to you? What kind of memories do you really kind of look back on like that were, you know, iconic to you?
Well, first of all, South Carolina was a culture shock.
Yeah.
In a good way. In a good way. I think we have when I was there, the people were very nice, very inviting. I really had no idea what to expect. You know, as far as the work life was over there. And the thing is, it was the South. It was a plant, so working was very different from what it is over here.
Describe like how so?
It's being that it's a plant, it's more structured.
Okay.
Right. It's and it's hard to explain, but laid back and structured. Right.
Okay.
So it's like your day-to-day activities may be very boring, maybe very mundane, because everything you know there's a process behind everything. It is a plant. It's they don't want to make mistakes. Right. Quality is an important thing. So to do any small thing, you have to fill paperwork, go through this. Yeah. So
wow, okay.
It's a little bit different. You know, you start to learn more processes rather than the product itself, but that's also learning experience, right? That's also something you kind of grow with. So that was great. You know, I mean, it was being there. It was two challenges. One was work, and then two was fitting in socially. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have anyone.
Yeah.
I was engaged at the time, but I wasn't married, so it was.
You still figure you don't know anyone there. You still have to figure it all out.
Exactly. So, it had its roller coasters. There was some ups, there was some downs, and you know, there's that element of being homesick every now and then. But you know, just muscle through it, push through it, and eventually, when you know you like the job, when you're enjoying it, when you don't mind waking up, going there, then that made it all worthwhile.
And when was that moment for you where you started to feel like this is worth it? Was there a certain like opportunity that you got? Was there a certain day that you remember that was, this is the reason why I'm making this like sacrifice almost, or I'm taking this chance on myself, why these hardships were worth it to you?
Well, it's a little different. I came here as an immigrant, right? So when you come as an immigrant, getting a job is 90% of your goal achieved, right? You're like, I have a job, thank you. I'm getting a paycheck. I have a roof over my head. That's accomplishment. That's great, right? So I never really, I just, in my mind, it's been drilled into us as immigrant kids.
Yeah.
You just have to show up. You just have to do it. You have to go on with it. There wasn't a way out. There wasn't a, oh, I don't like this, I'm not going to do it. So it was just ingrained in me that I have to do it. I have to do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, enjoying the job really helped.
Yeah.
The people that I worked with were very nice. You know, it was, the environment was great. It was like one big family, right? Because if you think about this, if it's a very specific field. It's an automotive field. Everyone that works there loves cars. They're gearheads. They talk about cars. So everyone around you you have the same mindset. You think the same. So you kind of grow together. It's a family. So that really kept me going. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
it wasn't, there weren't too many, when I say backgrounds, I mean, not too many other disciplines. You know, everyone was automotive.
Yeah. So,
That's
you know,
what they
kind of
like.
so
That's what they
foundationally,
want,
you're
yeah.
all kind of similarly wired people inherently in the way
Exactly.
you guys
Yeah.
are. Yeah. And I think,
So there was, you
yeah.
do tend to build that comfort zone then, right? Like,
Because like, okay, if everyone's like me, then I know that I can be myself around these people.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes a big disconnect comes from when you're at like a job, you know, 40 hours a week, and you can't feel like you can be yourself when you're there.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, like, you know, work usually isn't the most fun thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's usually the people that end up making you feel like if it's a good experience or not.
Yeah, it is, you know, and just on the contrast, now that I'm here, it's more corporate, right?
Yeah.
So I deal with engineers, I deal with lawyers, I deal with
Okay.
finance guys, and people from all types of disciplines.
Yeah.
So you are kind of put outside your comfort zone, which is good. I think you also grow. But if all that is combined with being in a new place, being alone,
Yeah.
that might have been a little more challenging. So I
Yeah.
like that comfort that I had, as far as, you know, everyone being very
people.
similar to you with your
Yeah.
mindset. But just, I think putting it all together, everything just kind of flowed. It flowed well for me.
Yeah, and then when you were there, what were you actually like doing when you were there? Because I understand that like it flowed well and like that was like a hard time. But I'm curious, like what was like you said it was laid back, but it was so structured. So and you said now you deal a lot with corporate, financial, lawyers and things like that. But when you were again 25, 26, and you were down in South Carolina, what were you actually working on?
So I was an analysis engineer, and I had very specific components in the car that I was an expert in. I still don't think I'm an expert in.
Yeah.
But so basically, when cars are built on the assembly line and they fail certain tests, or there's certain components that they can't figure out what's going on, these cars are sent over to us, and we troubleshoot them, dig deeper into them, try to find out what the root cause is, and you know, remedy it. So.
And all the cars.
So it's very hands on. Like you're literally tearing off panels
and
fixing stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then how many out of 1,000 cars, right? Like how many do you feel like have to go back and get fixed and everything like that?
Not that many. BMW's great.
Quality's
great.
Good answer.
Not
Good
that
answer.
many. Not that many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I remember when I visited you like a long time ago, when I was I think like young, maybe like 8, 9, or 10. I remember one thing I always remembered you for was you would always test drive the cars. And you'd always come in the driveway with the new car. Like first car I remember was like the Z4, I think it was called. And I was like mesmerized as a kid that you were driving this car and you told us you test drive these. So how did you go from like again being a tester and an engineer to like test driving these cars? Like how did that all kind of transpire?
Yeah, I mean, part of the role, obviously the role then eventually developed, and then part of it was we were testing pre-production cars, checking the pre-production software, making sure that all the components and everything is working together and ready for launch,
So like what things would you be looking for while you're doing that? Like while you were test driving, like so you said all the components. What were the kind of like what's like very specifically kind of what you were doing? I'm very curious, like what was the actual what were you looking for?
So most of the time it's software bugs, right? So you have several components, several ECUs in a vehicle, and when they're all put together, they communicate with each other. You know, one component comes from supplier X, one component comes from supplier Y. So we kind of put them together. They're talking to each other. They're working together, you know, and during that phase, we do have to test the software, make sure there's no bugs, make sure there's no major stuff going on. And so we're basically just making the quality of the vehicle.
Okay, so a lot of it's on like it's like on the computer end, more of like the computing of it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So how long were you doing this specific thing? Were you doing this the whole time you were there? Like this was your specific role while you were in Spartanburg the entire time?
For the most part, yes.
Okay, what did it turn into?
So what we did is so I did different components. Like I started working on seats and airbags.
Yeah.
And then I moved into the power management. Like you see how much, battery is being drained with all these components active. And then I went over to Germany. I was there for 2 years.
Yeah, I want to focus on that. So how did that happen? What's the story behind that?
I mean, that's another. I think that's something the company promotes.
Okay.
They do encourage that we spend time abroad. So I had the opportunity. I was asked if it's. I mean, you have to show interest, and when the opportunity comes around,
what was that process like?
You,
from you, okay, you have no idea you're going to Germany, right? From nothing. How did you go from there to what was that process of relocating like? What was that like?
So the relocation itself was very easy. The company does a great job. I mean, they pack you, they move you,
Do they reach out
unpack
to
when
you
you're
or do you
there.
reach out to them?
What's that?
Do they reach out to you or did you reach out to them?
I mean, and it's mutual, right? So
Yeah.
it's usually when you have your interactions with your boss on a weekly, monthly basis, and you'll be like, hey, I'm interested in an expat assignment. If something comes up, please let me know.
Yeah.
Hey, these are the potentials out there. Would you be interested in something?
That's cool.
And then you kind of see what what job it is, and you're like, okay, so I'd go ahead, I'll pick it. I'll say, okay, let's try this. You're going to be working in this department. This is what you're going to be doing.
Okay.
And then the whole process gets initiated.
Yeah.
And it's very simple. I mean, the company moves you there. I mean, it sounds simple, but they make it simple.
That's
company
good.
moves you there. Once you're there, I mean, they take care of everything. They give you a place to stay. You get a car.
Yeah, that's nice.
You spend time there, with the family. The family was there as well.
You were there for how long?
It was about 2 years.
Okay, I feel like in my memory for some reason it was longer than that.
Yeah.
But so you said it was a culture shock going to South Carolina. Let's go revisit that. What was it like going to Germany? Like
Even
living
bigger
there
culture shock. But you've grown, right? So when I went, I was in my early 30s.
Okay.
So you've also grown. You also have some. I'd been to Germany before. We work with Germans. You kind of have a little bit of a better expectation what's coming.
Yeah.
BMW also gives you language training. They also give you cultural training before you go, so that it's very clear what the expectations are, how their culture is, how it's different.
That's cool.
So they really prep you. They prep your spouse. So when you go there, you do have a baseline.
Yeah.
And then once you're in that role as well, there's lots of other colleagues that have been on expat assignments. So you talk to them.
Okay.
And you get some, feedback from them. So it wasn't too bad. You know, it wasn't like I showed up there and had no idea.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anyone. One, you know a lot of people there. And when we went there were about 7 or 8 other expat families who I knew.
Oh wow!
So it was
it's kind
quite,
of still a
it was
community
nice.
at the same time.
Exactly, yeah. So it was actually quite nice.
Yeah, and was it like a promotion or was it more of like just a kind of a different round? Like what was the actual?
No, it was just lateral. It was a lateral move.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And how do you look back on that time? Was it? Do you think it was something you really enjoyed? You could have been there longer? What was it? Again, a lot of people I think right now, again, there's this whole glorified thing. As Yash behind the camera, he studied abroad, right? A big thing where college students love to study abroad. Do you recommend working abroad?
I definitely would. And the biggest reason is you grow a lot, right? I'll give you an example. When we went to, before we go there, we do a cultural training.
Yeah.
So the trainer actually, Nirali, my wife and I, we both went to it. And they told us that the toughest part is reintegration, not integration, right? And I was like, huh?
What does that mean?
I didn't think about that, right?
Yeah.
But then you go there. When you go there, there's like this euphoria stage. It's like everything's nice, it's new, it's exciting, it's a new culture, new food, new people. And when you have a companion with you, so my wife was there with me.
Yeah.
When you have someone, it's great to experience that with someone rather than being there all
by
alone.
yourself. Yeah.
And then once you're there, you meet new people, you learn, you grow as an individual. And when you come back, you think the whole world has changed.
Yeah.
But then when you reflect on it, it's actually you that's changed. Everyone's life is still the same. People are the same.
Yeah.
But when you start to have conversations with people, when you want to share experiences, they're not getting you. They're not understanding you. But then you start to realize that you've actually grown. And you've become more worldly. It helps you with your job. It helps you with your private life.
Yeah.
It helps you socially. So it's definitely a big plus. If
Yeah.
anyone has that opportunity, I highly recommend
doing
it.
it.
Experiencing a different culture is, there is no. It's one thing when you go there just to visit.
Yeah, it's like a
But
vacation.
when you're immersed in that culture,
Completely different.
It's a very different experience, and
Yeah.
I really urge everyone to try it.
What do
It's
you feel like?
definitely
Yeah,
worth it.
what do you feel like you grew in? How do you feel like it really changed you? What do you think it really you said it impacts all these different, makes you better?
I would say
all that stuff.
the biggest change in me is understanding people. When I speak to someone, you kind of can relate where they're coming from, what they're saying it, why they're saying it.
Yeah.
And that's because you've experienced a different culture, right? And if you look at us, I grew up in Kenya, we're Indian, we grew up in America, and now I spend time in Europe. And when you think about it, all these cultures that I have experienced, all these, they're in my head, right? So when you talk to someone, I think it gives me a little bit of an edge on trying to figure out where they're coming from.
Yeah.
It also changes my approach and how I speak to them. As well.
again, it's like if you lived in one area your entire life, like let's say
Yeah.
you grew up in this, small town in Montana, and you lived there until you're 40 years old, you're gonna have one perspective. But you said were you born where were you born exactly again?
Kenya.
You were born in Kenya, and you were there how long?
My whole life,
Whole
18
life.
years
18. Then you
until high
come to
school.
yeah. So then you come to America, and now you're in America. So that's two continents now. And then now you go to Europe. You're experiencing so many different kinds of people and philosophies, and like again, the way you say when you were in Spartanburg, the consensus of the people you around your community was one way. Being around now so many different cultures and communities, I'm sure one more than anything allows you to connect to someone, understand them more. Because it's so easy to say, oh, they think different than me, they're wrong, or why would they think that way?
Yeah.
But for you, because you see so many different kinds of people, it probably makes it a little bit like a lot
It is.
easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Especially when I watch the news and you see these,
So much
these debates, it's like red and blue, it's black and white. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, it's not, guys.
Life's
Come
not
on.
like that.
Like, yeah. So that's the thing and stuff like that aggravates you. It's not this or the other.
Yeah.
There's a middle ground. There's always a middle ground.
Always.
People have a different perspective. You just have to look at it in that different way.
Yeah, I'm like, one thing I'm curious about too is when you were like, again, all these experiences now. So how old were you again when you left Germany?
30, I want to say 33.
So this when you're 33, right? What were the, like, in those past what?
We went there when I was 33. I think we came back when I was 35.
Okay, so you come back to your 35. It's now been 12 years right since you graduated college. Now you've like been working for over a decade. Not thinking about right now, thinking about that time period. What were the things that you learned the most about like working and like corporate, like again, like this whole experience of working a full-time job, working in different places? Like what did that teach you about this half of your life that is spent working?
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, when I was in working in the plant, your day-to-day work is very similar, right? And you're not learning, you're not growing. You are, but not at the rate you wanted to, right?
Yeah.
So after coming back from Germany, it kind of triggered like there's more to this industry. There's there's people from different disciplines who I want to interact with, grow with, learn from. And that's kind of what really pushed me to start thinking maybe I need to make some kind of a career change, a career move.
And did you?
And that's what prompted me to, come back here to New Jersey.
Yeah.
Because New Jersey's corporate office, it's
Okay.
there's engineering, there's development, it's a headquarters, right?
Yeah.
It's a sales office. So that's I think that's one of family is obviously one because we wanted to bring the kids back here.
Yeah.
And the other thing was I just needed a little bit of a change in career, try something different, try something new.
Yeah.
So I that's the experience that kind of said, you know what, maybe there is something else out there for me. I should try.
Yeah. So then when you came back home, right? You came back to New Jersey to work in this corporate office. So what was like the role shift that you went through?
So when I first started, it wasn't too different because I started off here as a development engineer.
Okay.
So I was still testing prototype cars. you know?
Yeah.
And that was kind of, okay, I felt like I just moved here, but I'm just doing things at a different phase of the product. So the day-to-day activities weren't too different. So I worked in that role for about a year, and then I decided to take the role that I currently have right now.
Yeah.
Just quality management. Yeah.
Okay. And then now so we were talking a week ago now about your experience now. You have your own, you have interns or you help you guys out. You guys do a lot of different things. You're really a leader now when, thinking back on your time in South Carolina where you were just starting out. So what are some things you've noticed now? Because you've had the experience and opportunity of being an entry level and like young worker, and now you're a leader in your space. Again, you're a senior in what you're doing, and you've led, I'm sure, tons of teams, tons of people in kind of the space you're in now. So what have you learned kind of from both sides, and how has that perspective really changed? Like, what is your perspective on kind of careers for young people right now?
So young people, what I would say is, so one, and I wish I knew some of these things earlier.
Yeah.
For young people, I'd say don't get intimidated by any market, any job. Don't ever feel that, this is not an achievable task for me. I'd say go for it. Just traditionally when you think about it, and actually I spoke with a VP very recently. I had lunch with him a couple of months ago, and he gave me this advice.
Yeah.
And he said, one of the things that we always think about is the traditional method is I'm going to go to school, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do a good job, I'm going to tell my boss, hey, I want a promotion, and I'm going to get a promotion. You
Yeah.
know, that path doesn't really work, right? So what I'd say is really ask yourself, first of all, get in an industry, start working, see what kind of roles are out there, see what kind of jobs are out there, see what a VP does, see what a director does, see what a senior engineer does, see what a lawyer, you know, see what everyone does, right? And really ask yourself, what do I want to do 10 years, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? And then the best thing I would say is, if you see this is where I want to be, and there is a guy with 15, 20 years of experience that's there, go talk to him, have lunch with him. No unreasonable person is going to refuse to have lunch with you. Even if they're a VP, I think just be like, hey, can we have lunch? Can we talk? Can we have coffee? Just go reach out to them, ask them about their experiences, ask them what is the best path for you to get to where they are, because it's never vertical. It's you always have to climb lateral.
Yeah,
Right?
and
So
they've been there and done that.
Yeah, I would just say really talk to people who you would like to see yourself as in the future, and see how they got there. That's really the best advice I can give.
Was there a specific conversation that, because you say that advice, so did you envision yourself being in the shoes you are in now a couple years back?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I kind of follow the path, but if I had the vision, then maybe I could have gotten there quicker.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, as an immigrant, you're happy to have a job. So I kind of went with the flow. When you, and that's one thing, and I think this pertains mostly to immigrants. Like when they come here, the parents come here, they work hard. They've never really worked in the industry. So they ingrain into their kids, like, just work hard and get a job, just work hard and get a job. They look at the dollar amount. If you make this much money, you can afford this house. And it's a mathematical equation, but they don't factor in that 70% of the time you're at your work and you need to be happy with it, right?
Yeah.
So what I'd say is, yes, you need to work hard. You need to get your first in the door, but don't sit in that mindset, because I wish I had that. Someone had told me this before, but really envision yourself, where do I want to be 5, 10, 15 years? And really start working on that. Start making connections with the people who can get you there, and people that can help mentor you there. I know a lot of companies do offer mentorships. I would suggest get one outside your department. Talk to them, and really just, that's all I can say. I mean, look up to someone. He got there. He knows the recipe. Go talk to him.
Yeah, if you want to be that, if you want to be that person, the best way to get to be them is asking them how they did it. Like that, it's really that simple. And I think, as you say, I think the intimidation thing is not really spoken a lot about, because, again, you think someone in, like, again, let's say you take it way back to when you are, you know, a freshman in high school or a freshman in college. You look at these seniors at the time, you're like, oh my God, they're so old, they're so intimidating. You look at your teachers, like, oh my God, they're so unapproachable, they're my teachers. But even like when you go to your first job, right, like even me at LinkedIn, sometimes you see, you know, maybe one manager seems more closed off by their demeanor, and in your head now you're thinking, I can't go up and talk to them.
Exactly.
When in reality, you know, next thing you know, you're looking over your desk and you see them talking to your coworker. Like, oh wait, they are approachable. Then you have that conversation, you know, 6 months, a year, 2 years later, and you realize it was not that hard at all, and you could have done it a year ago, right? So I think, again, how did you kind of, like, now that you have, you know, you lead a lot of these younger people, I think, do you kind of give that advice to a lot of them? Like, just go up and talk to someone? Like, what do you tell young people now who are...
I will. Honestly, I will. And what I do is I'll push them. I'll say, hey, you know what? If you come up to me with an idea, go for it. You pitch it.
Yeah.
Go talk to the manager, you know, set up a meeting, be like, look, I have this idea. What can we do about it? Do it. Because I can easily take your stuff and make myself look better, but I think that's not right. You know, just go pitch your idea, talk to them. If they need me to set it up, if they need some mentorship, I'll do it, you know?
Yeah.
Even when I was in Spartanburg, I had mentored some interns. Okay. And I always pushed them. I never took their stuff and said, ooh, look what we did. No, you know, when credit's due, give it. Yeah. And I would push them. I'd be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to set you up a meeting with this guy. Show him what you did. Talk, get conversation started. Let them see you're a smart person. Wow, that's nice. Let them see you're motivated. And we all grow together. We all grow together. I know that's the idea.
I mean, I think again, inherently, it's like if your growth is not, we have to push someone down for you to rise, right? If you elevate the group around you, then inherently you're going to elevate yourself too, and they're going to want to also elevate you too.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think, you know, now that you've seen, you know, you've been again entry level, and now you've had these interns. What are some things that stand out about like the best people that you've worked around? Like, are there specific traits that you've noticed? Like, okay, when this person is 22 or 23 or they're 18, they're 19, I know they're going to be successful. Or I know that this is a common trait that most people who are entering this workforce have. Because for me, I think, when I was in my role, I have a perspective as a 22-year-old, right? It's like I think, oh my God, if they're good at talking to leaders, if they're outgoing, that's a trait that I think in my mind I associated with success. But I know that there's probably so many other ones that I have not seen because I don't have that perspective of someone like you who's been there and done it and now looks back on it. So what kind of traits do you see as valuable things that young people kind of have or
I don't think there's a trait. I think it's hard work. I've seen very good, very intelligent kids that make it nowhere.
Yeah.
And I've seen not so intelligent kids that maybe didn't even come from an Ivy League school and they're like way up there. They're department heads right now, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think the common trait is it's just their work ethic, If you're willing to work, you're willing to put the hours, it's going to come to you. I don't think there's an instant trait that, and then sometimes, there are also some that come in with a lot of energy, but maybe they realize that this is not for me, so that energy level kind of drops or, some also the interest starts to build in at a later point. So I wouldn't say there's a specific trait. There's nothing. You as an individual, I think if you want to get somewhere, if you put in the time, if you put in the hours, it's going to happen. I mean, look at you, for example. How many people told you, hey, Darsh, why are you quitting your wonderful LinkedIn job? And you're starting this, but hey, that's you're putting the work, you're putting the effort day in, day out.
Yeah.
You're at it. Eventually, something's going to happen. Eventually, at some point.
And it's funny, because like I think I've worked so hard for anything in my life now. And it's for something that doesn't even pay me back, something that like a LinkedIn did or like a college university gives you back. So I think, it is funny. I think you never really realize how much hard work kind of does beat talent.
Yeah.
Because even, again, for me, right, even doing this now, we were talking about how you asked me if I edited all this stuff. I've never done any of this stuff before. So I'm figuring it all out now by myself, but it's the hard work that takes you there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of going off that too. It's like right now we're right now interviewing for our next batch of interns for the next school year. Have you like done interviews, and do you interview a lot for people at BMW? So what has that been like for you? How has that been for you interviewing? Have you like noticed things about people? Like how do you pick who to hire? How involved are you in that space?
So usually when we see resumes, they've really thoroughly been vetted by the HR. So mostly the stuff the interviews that we get are good. They're smart kids. They come from good colleges.
Yeah.
They're willing to put in the work. But I mean, it's how you speak. It's how you're going to present yourself at the point of the interview.
Yeah.
Because the work, we know it. It's there. You will be taught it. If you're an engineer with a 3.0 plus GPA, you're going to learn it. You're going to pick it up.
Yeah.
So that's really not. We've never had a problem with interns like not having the ability on how to work, but it's more are you going to show up?
Yeah.
Are you going to work hard for it?
So then when you interview them, right, like what are you really asking them? Because I think, again, like I'm sure HR, you said vets them, and from what it sounds like to me, it's that you're not really asking them to prove themselves as candidates to you. It's like you're looking for kind of soft things about the person at that point.
So mostly you just look through their experience. If you see something interesting, you tell them.
What's interesting to you? What usually catches your eye?
It depends. So it could be, I think there's one recently where this girl did a robotics project.
Okay.
Right. And I was like, oh, I want to know a little bit more about that. So and if you see something and you see that they're excited and passionate about it. And you can just tell from the sparkle in their eye, then you're like, okay, they are a little passionate about something. They want to come here and do some good work. So yeah. I mean, it's even simple things like, the way you dress, the way you show up, it's just,
I feel like, again, that's kind of underrated. It's funny because sometimes you hear these horror stories of people showing up to interviews, their hair isn't all done, they're wearing a t-shirt and things like that.
Seen it all.
It's happened?
They've shown up in in sweats. Like
no way, really? Yeah. Wow, that is crazy.
And that's a cutoff. But that means you're not interested.
Yeah, if you cared, you'd present yourself better.
Yeah.
And I think, again, like, so now when it comes to these candidates and things like that, are there any ones that like stand out, and like what makes them stand out? Like, because again, you're saying that when you interview them and they work for you, it's like their hard work that kind of shows them off. But I think a lot of people are just curious. Like you said, it's a lottery a lot of the times to even get a chance to interview. So what are some things that students can do right now to get an interview or to get a chance to work for a BMW?
So I'm not I'm not so familiar with the vetting process. I don't know how
Yeah.
the HR departments, select from 200 a
Yeah.
set of 7 or 8 or 6
Yeah. Yeah.
resumes. I'm not really, I can't tell you put this keyword, that keyword in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's professionals that will,
Of
they'll
course.
show you that stuff.
Yeah.
But, like I said, when you're talking to someone, just there is a level of excitement that you see.
Mm.
And if you see that, then that right away tells me, okay,
that
this
tells you.
person's, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think again, I kind of wanting to shift gears a little bit now. I think one thing I'm really curious about is like again, what it's like some of the really memorable moments and stories about your job. I think that's what most people are fascinated by. It's okay, you've been again in the same company, BMW, and BMW is a cool company. It's not like everyone knows the name, everyone knows the brand, the logo. It has really big global brand awareness. Also, again, it's not an easy path you've been on. You've been to all these different places, locations. I'm sure people in their head they think, "Oh my God, she's from Kenya, then he came to the U.S. and then went to Germany." And so, what are like some moments in your career that you think were really pivotal to like your change and your growth? Like, was there specific like stories? I'm curious that really you look back on like, wow, that changed a lot for me, or that was a moment where my eyes were opened, something along those lines.
I wouldn't say I had an aha moment,
Yeah.
I want to say I'm more of, I didn't really, I mean, no, I can't say there was a single moment. I just kind of took opportunities as they came.
Yeah.
I'm always, I like to talk to people.
Mm.
In general, I am the guy that's gonna, if I'm going from the coffee to my desk, I will stop at everyone's desk and talk to them.
Yeah.
So it's just me. I like
Yeah.
talking to people. I like having conversation,
Yeah.
whether it's about work, whether it's not about work. It's just my personality. So I think I just put myself out there, and really opportunities have come to me. It's
Really?
most of the times it's not me seeking something, but hey, by the way, would you be interested in this? And I'm like,
Wow,
yeah, okay, yeah,
okay.
why not? So I wouldn't say there's been like a game changing moment. In general, I like what I do, so it's not like I'm oh man, I want to do this, or I want to try this.
Yeah.
Really, I like working there, working as a team. Some of the best moments I've had is, we've worked in the, we've been on the assembly line 24 hours straight.
Wow.
With a team of engineers, and then 2, 3 in the morning going to Waffle House and getting back in the grind. So, and we still talk about this. It's like, I'm like, man, do you remember we were at work for 24 straight hours? One guy comes over and he's like, yeah, I asked you like, oh, you're wearing the same clothes. I'm like, no, I didn't go home yet.
Yeah.
So and we always talk about these things. So
Yeah.
it's little moments like that where it's like, oh, we grew as a team, we built as a team.
Yeah.
And it's stuff that I really enjoy. With my last role, we did a lot of test drives. We would drive to Chicago, and we would drive to Tennessee.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
the time you spent in the cars, at the hotel,
Yeah,
at dinner, at the
yeah.
bar afterwards.
Yeah.
Like these moments that you build with your teammates, your team members.
Yeah.
That's really something memorable, and I actually enjoy that. So I like working as part of a team. I like being part of a team.
Yeah.
And I feel that when you work as a team, you grow. And that's really what I thoroughly enjoy doing. Yeah.
I don't know. These are the same people that you've like been working with for so long. Like, how do you like? I think that's the value. I mean, not even that. I think when this comes to a team and people around, I think that makes everything more enjoyable, right? Why? It's the same reason why people I think have families, right? Same reason people have families. Same reason people have friends, join sports teams, join clubs, because everything is more fun with people. That's just
It definitely
one of the facts
is,
of life.
and that's one of the things I miss more about South Carolina than here.
Yeah.
I feel because I started my career young, everyone else was pretty young. We grew together. We got married around the same time.
Yeah.
We had our kids. Our kids kind of hung out with each other.
Yeah.
So that's why I said it felt like family, and
Yeah.
that's what I really enjoyed about it most.
Do a lot of them come here? Are a lot of them here now in New Jersey, or are they all still down there?
No, they're still most of them are still back there.
Do you go back a lot or no?
Not as much as I'd like to.
You want to go back down?
Yeah.
Work's got you up here now.
Yeah, no, but it's great, and it's and like I mentioned before, like I found a comfort zone. Now I'm out of it, and now I'm starting to build something different. Now it's like I'm working with a lot more. I'm more direct with customers. I deal more directly with dealerships. I have better understanding of what our customers want, what they need, and building a product that's more geared towards them.
Okay.
So I kind of like closing that link, So the job itself is very, very exciting.
So what is that like? So what are you asking your customers? Like, what are you asking them? What are you building? Like, what's your actual role? Like, what do you do right now?
So right now I do quality management, and what that entails is We make sure you have the best quality vehicle
Yeah.
in your hands.
Yeah.
So one of and it's broken up into different aspects. So one of the aspect is we try to understand what it is that our customers really want. Like what do they complain about? What are their needs? What do they think? What are the positives about a car?
Yeah.
What are the negatives? The negatives, how can we improve them? How can we change them? What design elements can we bring into it that's going to build a better product?
Yeah.
Like more targeted. In this day and age, when we have so much data, we're starting to use AI more and more.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal how much you can find out and how much you can learn, and the pace of development of your product just is mind blowing now.
Yeah.
It's so much faster. Like something that would take us a year to do, we could probably do it in a month now.
Like what? Like what's something that you guys are working on right now that you feel like you leverage all these tools and you're just like what?
I can't tell
is,
you what we're building right now. Come on, man.
It's secret. No, that's funny.
No, I mean simple things. Like I'll do like what is it that really are, just take for example, I'm responsible for driver assistance and driving dynamics. So
okay.
I try to understand like what do our customers really like about our driving assistance systems? What do they dislike about them?
Okay.
So we have so many sensors where we can get information on what's troubling them, what do they like, and what can we make better for the future.
So are you communicating with individual actual drivers, or are you communicating with like who are you actually communicating with like on your day to day?
I don't communicate. Well, it's mostly data. It's
Okay,
mostly
so
data
you're
mining,
so you look at the data and you figure out, okay, this is, and then what do you do with that data? You personally, what do you do with that?
I mean, with the data, we get a good understanding of
Yeah.
where our problems lie,
Yeah.
what our customers want, and we push that over to the development groups in Munich to say, hey, maybe we need to do this, maybe we need to change that, maybe we need to adapt this. So it's yeah.
Is it a lot of like proposals, or is it more like this has to get done, do it? Like what is like the average? Okay, now you've looked at the data, you understand what it is. Now you know you want the team in Munich to do X, Y, Z. What is like what's
it's not a one-to-one. It's not like, hey, this is this, now you need to do this. We work together. We have process partners across Munich at the plants, us, and we're working together throughout the entire phase.
Yeah.
So it's not like this is not good, why don't you do that? It's no. We're really going at this together.
It's like very like in depth, like under. It's like what I guess like what's an example of one of the things where you hear. Like, what's an example of like a project like this? Like, I'd love to hear like again how your like what your actual responsibilities are in something like this. Just we're on a day to day, right? It's like now you have let's say like I'd love to hear like an average day for you.
Average day, I'd say.
I was curious. Like, again, you do so much. So for me, it's again I think like. People, you say you want to talk to people that you want to become, right? I think it's like hearing someone like yourself in such a senior role, actually hearing what they do, and that might make someone say, I want to be like that, or maybe that's not something I don't want to do, right? Like that's kind of why I'm curious about what you.
So I mean, like on my day to day, it's just a lot of data mining. I'm looking into a lot of data.
Okay.
We have data that comes from our call centers. We have data that comes from various sources. We have data that comes from dealerships. They'll say, hey, we have a lot of complaints from this. We have. When you buy a new car, the BMW will call you, be like, hey, what do you think about this car? So we look at all this stuff, we basically compose it all together and say like, in general, what are the likes and dislikes, right? We're going to keep the likes and we're going to do something about the dislikes. What is it with the dislike? Is it a conceptual problem? Is it a quality problem? Can we fix it immediately? Can we do something long-term about it? So when you start to understand that we need to fix this,
okay.
Right? That's basically the information we take over to our development departments, and we're talking to them on a regular basis about how can we make this better, how can we improve on this, what are the new models coming, can we change that in here, can we do this?
And it's really based on like, hey, this is the feedback, how can we make it better, and it's for like future models, or is it for like the current kind of
both,
the car?
Okay. Both,
So it sounds like a lot. Is it like high pressure? Would you say, or would you say it's more like late, like not as?
It can be. Yeah. It can be. It's a roller coaster. Sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's not.
Based on what the project is.
It really depends.
Yeah. So what are some projects? I guess looking back now, right? It's like what are some of the things that were your favorite things to work on? Again, I know you said you did test driving. You said you did a lot of kind of software, kind of like involving that development. Like you were a development engineer. Like what were some of these projects that really made you want to learn more, grow more, do more, that you got the opportunity? You said the extra opportunities came to you. So what were some of your favorite opportunities that either came to you or you went ahead and got?
I'd say the favorite opportunity I have is right now,
Really? Okay.
right? Because I've spent 15 years in engineering,
Yeah.
and I know the product well. It's yes, there's changes coming,
Yeah.
but you've kind of learned that feel,
Yeah.
right? What I like right now, it's less engineering, but more interacting with different groups of people, right? So in my previous role, for example, I would never talk to a lawyer. I would never talk to a salesperson. I would never talk to a product planner. I would never talk to a dealership technician, for example, right? So I just love the elements of me having to interact with a vast majority, like a huge diverse group of people.
Something refreshing.
It's refreshing. And like I said before, you know, my experiences being in Germany and being with the multicultural, you start to understand that our drivers are maybe not engineers. Some of them are businessmen. Some of them are doctors, you know, and their understanding, their expectations, that it's
They're all different. Yeah.
They're very different. You know, when you try to explain something to a lawyer, his language is different. Their understanding of everything is different. The way things are worded, you know, you may write something in an engineering term, but it's completely misinterpreted the other side. So kind of closing all these gaps.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. I really enjoy that element of it.
And you think you're going to be doing this for a while now? Sounds like
I think so. I think so. I mean, it's once I get to my plateau of, okay, I've learned what I can, then we'll think about
These are your next 15 years are on the business side.
Yeah.
And I think it's fascinating too, because again, as we talked about earlier, most people just like leave. They kind of, you know, the whole new trend is company hopping now. It's working at one company for 2 years. Let me chase a pay rise somewhere else 2 years. Like, that's kind of like the new culture now. And even, again, I can imagine for yourself, right? It's, you know, you're at BMW. I'm sure maybe at the time there were other car companies that, you know, you could have gone to, or other engineering for other kind of systems. And I'm sure now, again, there's AI. I'm sure that's something that's interesting to you. What has kept you here? Again, I'm sure also, you know, you're a very creative person too. I know you do woodworking. You know, you're a good engineer in terms of you built that really interesting clock at your house. And it's like, what keeps you doing what you're doing now? Do you ever like have the urge to go like leave and try something else? Like how you've dealt with that over the last, you know, 18, 20, 25 years?
Well, yes, you're right. That is another career strategy that people have, and I think it may work better in other fields, not in engineering. But yeah,
so?
you can company hop,
Yeah.
and that's a quick way of climbing the ladder and making a lot of money. With engineering, I think if you really want to learn and if you're passionate about engineering, it would be good for you to stick in one company, stick with a product.
Yeah.
And what's kept me honestly is the company's culture. You know, I think in general, again, now I'm promoting BMW, but in general, I think the turnover at BMW is not that not that high.
Yeah.
People like it. I think the brand also keeps people there. It keeps them going.
The culture is like a buzzword sometimes, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, the culture is good. The culture." Like, you
Well,
feel like it really matters.
let me elaborate culture. I think
No,
the
not
culture.
even that. I'm saying you think it really matters that much. Like, you really value it that much.
It does matter, and I think BMW being a European company, that culture kind of translates. So they do believe in work-life balance. When it's your vacation, you take it.
Yeah.
So that balance is there. That the European culture, I'm going to say that it's there. So
How is it different? Talk more about it. Like, what is the difference in that?
So I've never worked for an American company. Well, I have. I think as an intern, I did work for GE. I've worked for a Japanese company, and it's like your work comes first, right? It's always work. If you get a call at 2 a.m, you're expected to pick up and call. But BMW doesn't really promote that. Like they do believe in a work-life balance. You know, when you shut your laptop at the end of the day,
It's done.
there's always stuff that comes up. You always have to pick up your call every now and then.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a fire, but it's not persistent. It's not all the time. You know, if I decide I'm going to take time with my family, it's time for your family.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I was emailing my boss for something today, and his response back was, "It's your PTO. Let's talk about it on Monday."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So these kind of things make a difference. And also the people, like I said, I think we have a lot of gearheads in there in this company. They love their jobs. So
You all
just
kind of
being
bounce
around
off each
them is
other.
also,
Yeah, you think that's something that people should look for when they're like in kind of looking for their first jobs? Again, I think, you know, back when I was in school, just again, like it's crazy now it's been like 2.5 years. I feel like my just thinking that I graduated that long ago. Like, I just got a text message from my friend planning our next like homecoming event back to Maryland. I was like, wow, so a third homecoming is like getting old now. But when I would think about that, it's like I never really knew what to look for in a company when I was in school. I would always just think about what I wanted at the time. So maybe whether it's looks good for my resume, or sounds like a good title, or is in the industry I like, or something I'm passionate about. I think everyone has a different approach to picking what they like, right? But again, maybe something's changed in a year. Like for me, it changed, right? Some people again they go and they decide, I'm not getting paid enough. I actually value money more than the kind of company or or like the ease or the culture. What have you noticed? Kind of again, like if going back, if you're 22 years old again, you're young, you're back in my shoes or someone else who was in school shoes. What are you looking for in a job you want to work at?
If when I was 22, I had no idea. But when I look at it now, I would say, and again, engineering is probably very different from finance or a project management type job, because with engineering, really be passionate about the product. Like you have to like the product, because you're building a product, right? So there's lots of different disciplines. You could be working at a like a L'Oreal, like a makeup company. You could be working, you could be doing lighting, you could be doing cameras, you could be doing vehicles. But if you're passionate about the product, I think you're gonna like going to work. I think you're gonna really give it your all. You're gonna put the work, and that's gonna resonate people around you as well. And it's, I think that's what makes it more enjoyable. Now, I can't speak for other disciplines. Like if you're in finance, I think if you're a finance or salesperson in a camera company versus a car company, essentially it's similar, right? I don't know. I don't think it's going to be too
just
different.
selling a different thing.
For an engineer, I would say like the product.
Yeah. Because again, if all you're working on is the actual product, if you're not really passionate about it, it'll rub off. Yeah. No, yeah. I think it's always I'm fascinated by this question, because I think again, like I realize like people are so different. Like everyone values different things, and again, I talk to a lot of my guests. I would say 2/3 of them are in this like 21 to 25, 26-year-old space, and then like you, Michelle, some of the prior guests we've had are like older. And again, I think you guys have a lot more insight onto like what is actually important, and if you look back on things you can change, right? Because I mean, for us, I could say a year ago maybe I would change something, but to me it's like I might just be saying that because I'm in a very short-term present now, whereas you've had that experience where like no, maybe I should have done that. So that's why one thing I'm again like kind of curious about with you is what was some of your like highest highs while you were working, and what were some of your like lowest lows? Because I think whenever I talk to someone, I think it tells you a lot about like what was the actual experience like, and like that it's normal to go through these kind of ups and downs with everything. So I'm kind of curious like what those were like during your entire kind of professional life.
Okay. Well, as an engineer, your highest high is when you solve the most complex problem.
What was your most complex problem?
That's what it is. I can't even remember. Well, it's like I said, when we were at the plant for 24 straight hours. This was when we were putting the cameras that they use for the assisted driving systems, and we couldn't calibrate those. And we found this out as we started building cars, right? So this was very complex because the design was a challenge from the beginning. It just wasn't designed the right way. So actually finding a quick way to make it work and at the same time look for long-term solutions, I think that was very rewarding, because one, cars are moving. They don't stop. The line doesn't stop for anything. We got to keep building them. And at the same time, with the pressure of that time, you're trying to solve something very complex. Something that was it wasn't really like a problem like, oh, that screw fell loose, let me just tighten it.
Let me take it off, put something back on.
This was conceptually wrong, and we were able to find long-term and short-term solutions for it. So these kind of things are very very
and it took you, how long did it take you to fix this one, to solve this problem?
Oh, it took about a good week and a half.
And
it involved everyone. So many, and again, it's working as the team. We had guys from Germany, we had guys from the plant, and we had the guys that work in the assembly line.
It was
we
everyone.
had engineers, so it was like everyone putting heads together and really coming up with good solutions. And I
How many
think
people?
that's
How
what I
many
do.
people you think were working with you on that problem?
I would say at least 10 or 15 people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
at least that.
And what was it feeling like when
And
you
then it's
finished?
just like you formed a mini team,
Yeah.
and then at 2 a.m. you're like, let's go to Waffle House. It's like that's still we'll never
Yeah.
forget that. And
Yeah.
whenever I talk to these guys and be like, oh, you want to go to Waffle House? It's like it's just a thing, you know.
It's the culture. That's the place to be. Like that's your guys' go-to spot.
Yeah.
And then what were some of the tough times? What was, again, you said like a lot of the things you referred to before were like going to new places, but what were some of the hardest things like you went through during this time?
I mean, hardest during my career, I can't really tell you I had too many downs, right? Because it's just kind of, again, ingrained in me that if you're down, you have to pick yourself up, keep moving, muscle through it. There are things that are out of your reach sometimes. There are times that you will sometimes fail. Like there are situations where a problem came up and you couldn't solve it, or it can't be solved because either it involves too much money or it can't be done in a feasible time. So that, projects are dropped. So these kind of things are disheartening, but it's part of a project. It's part of, working in any company. There are things that are going to be dropped. There's things that you worked on for a very long time, and budget comes into the question, or is it worth it comes into the question, and things like this are killed. So,
and you feel like that has affected you the most out of everything? Do you feel like, for example, so a lot of people, it's their relationships with their managers, it's being away from home, it's work not being somewhere where they end up hating their job. Like what? So you feel like it was like when projects and things were like kind of, that was like the hardest thing, was like when it wasn't working out the way you wanted to? Like, they would say that's what it was?
It is, because there's a sense of your work not being appreciated, right? When you put so much into it and it's cut, then you're like, oh, damn,
Yeah. Was there a specific project that you were really excited about and got canned?
I mean, there's
Probably.
a lot. When you work somewhere for 18 years, there's a lot. But then again, it's you grow from it, right? It's the younger you are, I think your highs are high and your lows are low, and the older you get, you kind of get numb to it.
Yeah.
So, and that's part of growing, right?
Yeah. No, I think this
you learn from it, and it's not only that, but then you also start to make better decisions as to, is this really worth it or not? You question yourself, like, is it worth it? Is it going to be better down the line? Do we really need it? So.
And when you were, again, I think going back to when you were in that 24, 25, like that young space, what do you feel like? I'm trying to understand, because, I mean, for me, what I valued when I was working was figuring out, like, a couple things mattered to me, right? When I was working at LinkedIn, one thing that I felt I couldn't be was like my full authentic self, right? Because the way you said you were around very like-minded people, I feel when I was there, I wasn't. That was one of the harder things for me, right? Whereas some of the really amazing things were that I got to really enjoy. Again, you said like I think culturally it was a really good culture. Everyone was like always like happy. They always valued like our work-life balance. But one of the tougher things for me was, I'm someone, as I'm very passionate about sports. I'm very passionate about kind of talking about music, sports, a lot of these things that I'm just passionate about, right? And sometimes when you're around people, again, you say we're all from different backgrounds, right? Like the way you described it was you guys are all gearheads. So it was one thing you used to describe your group. For me, I'm a sports person, athlete, passionate, from New Jersey. We have people coming from suburbs in Illinois. Someone came from Vermont. Someone would come from Georgia. And we were all such different people. I'm not saying it's in a bad thing. I think we all understood each other, but sometimes it was hard to find that like that family connection. Also because, in a space where we're in a rotational program, everyone also is trying to get promoted early, right? Get to their next role, get that next placement. I noticed that a lot of people would often have hard times connecting, and it was almost like we were so different sometimes. Where I'd have my couple of friends, my 2 or 3 friends, but it wasn't this core family feeling, and that's how it was for me. So I think again, like everyone, I've heard some people, in their roles, they have the hard time where it's again they're spending 10, 12 hours a day doing what they're doing, and it's like I love what I'm doing sometimes, but when it comes to I'm Monday through Friday, I feel like I haven't really lived. That's one thing. So what are some, again, like I think I hear you talk about the tough things. Like for you think it was like, what advice I guess you have to those people who are going through something where it is a little bit tougher, to try to fix that? Because I don't think that these things should discourage you from doing what you're doing and what you're passionate. You shouldn't quit. Like, not advocating people quit their jobs because they're not having a good time. It's more of, okay, like again, you've been in a job for 18 years. I'm sure you had these experiences that were tough, right? So how does someone who's experiencing these tough things navigate through all these kind of barriers and challenges? Like, what's your advice? I'm sure you've seen it all at this
Yeah.
point.
No, that's actually very important. I think that's a very important question because I can also relate to that because when you're in university, I think the best friends you'll ever have in life, at least from my point of view,
Yeah.
are from college. You can be your goofy self. You can talk about whatever you want. You can be who you are because your personality basically grew up during that period.
Yeah.
And it's a set of friends that you can let yourself loose with.
Yeah.
But when you get to work, you can't do that. You can't act goofy. You can't be the person. There's going to be a lot of other guys around. So, and that's important. I'm glad you said that because for me, I did see that, right? And I graduated a year earlier than my friends. And when I started to work, I also noticed that these guys are out partying, they're doing this, and they're sending all these weird text messages and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sitting here at work. But I think you have to train yourself to kind of disconnect the two. Work-life career should be different, and your friends should be different. Now, I was fortunate enough that I have very good friends, even at this age. We still hang out, and we're still goofy and act like we were back in college. So good. I think maybe for me, and also for my friends, we have that escape, if you want to call it, right? We can go back to it because you always want to reflect back at those college times.
Of course,
it's just normal, Even I've met people that are in their 80s and they're like, "Well, back in college," So it's important. I think you should keep that element. You should keep that child. You should keep that energy level that you had and your friends and whatever you have. You should keep that, but that should be kind of separate. When you get to work, it would be very wrong to have the expectation that because like you said, a guy came from Ohio, a guy came from here.
Everyone's all from all over.
And it is a work environment. It is competitive. They're all there to make it big. They're all there to be the next CEO.
Yeah.
And they are going to be ruthless. They're going to try to cut your throat. They're going to be nice to you. And I think you just have to, every individual is different. Every individual that you encounter is different. You have to learn how to approach each individual differently. And also sometimes if it's something you don't like, just really say, look, we need to be upfront with this. We need some ground rules moving forward. You're always going to have that conflict. So I think the conflict you have to deal with as you go. And you're never going to get that same sort of connection you've had with your private life in the past. So for a new kid going in, I would say if you really hate the job, you can always move. You have to make the switch. But if you like the job and you have that conflict, the emotional conflict, there is a point when you will get past it. You will. And then you're also going to learn, you're going to grow with your coworkers. You're going to see that they also have interest. Maybe you're going to go to a happy hour after work and you might find a little connection there. And it's eventually I think it all settles and blends in. But even at my age, those two elements of my life are completely naturally different. They're completely separate.
So you feel like, I mean, it sounds like it's, if you're going in with an expectation of it being like college and like everyone being your age, it'll still be that same thing, then you're just setting yourself up to be disappointed. That's what it sounds like.
Exactly.
Whereas if you can understand that, these are two different things, you can compartmentalize these into like, okay, this is work. We can still be friends with it, and it'll come over time, but it's not going to be as instantaneous and fast and natural as your normal friends that you have. So still value that normal friendship, but while you're there, you have to understand that that's the dynamic that it's going to exist. Like that's how it will be.
Exactly. And especially most companies now have these leadership programs where they rotate, new grads through different programs. But keep in mind, it is a competition. Right? So
that's how it was for us.
You have to understand that it is competitive. It is going to be ruthless sometimes.
I mean, dude, a lot of the companies now, it's all rotation programs. Like I was part of one, Yash is part of one. A lot of my friends are all part of them at different companies now. Even internships, like that's a lot of them are too are like trying different things within the same time. And what I realized is it's always, everyone wants to get picked out of the rotational program first. Even when I was at LinkedIn, right, it was called the BLP program. There was around, I think 17 to 20, I forget the exact number. I think it was 26 of us in the BLP program, right? And there was 4 different like pathways you can go down. but most of us, I'd say, I think 19 of us out of the 26 wanted to go down the sales pathway. And the way it would end up is you would have like these exit interviews, and you get picked by managers. Managers on sales team that are filling out their teams would pick from our group. And it was very competitive. So what it ended up resulting in was like we were all friendly, but there's also this element of like, oh, what's he practicing? Who's he networking with? I need to network with them. I need to network with them. And that's kind of the natural way it would be. But I think it still taught me though, like, everyone still has to do what they got to do. But you could still also, that does not mean that they're doing and that's anything wrong either. There's nothing wrong in trying to succeed, but inherently, if the environment, your goal is to go ahead and try to be successful, then these are natural actions that you're going to see, and you shouldn't take things personal. Because sometimes I would see some people in my office, like some people I would work with, they would cry over someone else's success. Like I've seen someone cry about, oh my God, they're networking better than me. They got picked first. Why did they get picked over me? And I saw one of my best friends. He had to end up waiting 6. Everyone else got picked. I thought he was one of the most talented. I thought he was maybe as talented as me or more than I was. I was picked in the second batch, which was like, there was like, I think 4 or 5 batch people picked. It was like 3 at a time. I was picked in the second batch. My friend I thought was just as good as I was, maybe even better. And he was picked in the very last group. And he was so disheartened. He's like, what am I doing wrong? And it can easily have led to where another person on that group who was picked when he was picked took it very personal. Oh my God, all these people, what do they do? Like, why people think I'm bad? Like F this company, they don't value me, X, Y, Z. Whereas I don't think it's always as emotional as you can think it can be, because it's very easy to make it feel like it is like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I can relate to that because I was in a similar program at GE, and I remember there were kids that took up smoking so they could time their smoke break or one of the managers' smoke break.
Yeah.
And and we were just like, what the hell? He doesn't even smoke,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's I see it. I mean, that's the extremes people actually went to.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's
Yeah.
and you will see that in your early career a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Especially when
You're
new
hungry.
kids come in with a lot of energy. They're willing to put in hours. They're
Yeah.
willing to work till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I have a friend. He's actually in Canada, and he was telling me that. So he's an engineer, but he went into finance.
Okay.
Right. So he went in as an entry level. I think at the age of like 37 or 38 or
Okay.
something.
Wow.
And he's like, dude, I can't handle this. It's mentally draining.
Yeah.
Because these kids are here till 10 o'clock. I have a kid at home, right? But
I
mean,
can't keep up. Yeah.
he can't keep up. But I mean, he managed. He managed. So
And then I think in that kind of like promotional sense, where one thing we're talking about is like growing and being ambitious and being hungry in that sense. How does someone who is like young do it the right way, you think? Like, what have you noticed about climbing the right way, if there is a right way? Like, is there things you've noticed some people have done? Like, oh, you should maybe present more things in front of leaders, or you should network more with this team you want. What are some of the things that you've noticed for people who are ambitious that want to grow within their company, right? Let's say, I've been in this role for a year and a half now. How do I handle that wanting to climb? How does someone do? What have you noticed about like
so
that?
one thing I can
dynamic?
tell you is when people, it's very easy to pick. It's easy to really see a true leader, to really see, okay, this guy is just being cocky.
Yeah.
This guy is too aggressive. This guy is this. It's not hard for us. We've been in this company for a very long time. We know the ones who are going to work hard. We know the ones that are cocky. We know the ones that are here just to use it as a stepping stone or something like that. So I would say just be genuine. Most importantly, be humble. Be willing to work. Give credit where it's due. Take it when it's deserved.
Yeah.
But really, just show up. Be humble. Work hard. Show that you have good work ethic. It will be seen.
Yeah.
It will be seen.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I remember one conversation we were having, like again last week, when we were talking about some of these things, and you feel like sometimes it's not seen because people aren't pushing it out enough. Like taking credit for what you do. Is that something you think is because I never really heard people talk about that before. How, sometimes it's easy for someone to take credit of your work. Like let's say an intern is an initiative, it's easy for for you to say, our team, we did this.
Exactly.
Yeah. How does like,
No,
like,
definitely.
yeah,
I mean,
what do
it
you think about
happens. It
that?
happens all the time. It happens at every level.
Yeah.
If you worked on something, your management team is naturally going to present that at higher levels and make themselves look good.
Yeah.
But I would say if you did something, if you worked on something, talk to your manager. Be like, the manager's like, I got to go to this meeting and I have to present this. Just, can I come along? Can I present it? Maybe you need me there as an expert. If a question's come up, let me be there to answer. And that's a way of showing up. Your manager may present something, but you're there, be like, oh yeah, Neel put this together. Thirsh put this together. So just ask that. Don't be afraid to ask. Just remember, higher management, senior management, they're people just like you and I. It's okay to just ask them, talk to them. I want to do this. How can you help me with this? How can we do that? And honestly, if you have talk to your manager about, look, I want to grow. I want to be more visible. If that doesn't really work out, there's managers in other departments. Look out for them. Say, hey, look, I want to help you with this. I want to, help you here, help you there. Just putting yourself out there, putting your name out there. Let people know what you did. Let people know what you've worked on, what you are working on, how you can be of value to them.
So it's hard to write. Because sometimes you said be humble, but sometimes it's because I'm going to interrupt you because sometimes it's hard, right? Because you're saying tell people what you did, while also remaining humble at the same time. That's kind of like a tricky thing, right?
It's an art.
It's an art. Yeah.
But it's, bottom line, I think you have to make yourself marketable, and as you grow, you're going to start to notice that you start to become almost like a brand. I don't know if that makes sense.
What do you think your brand is? If I ask someone yours,
I have no idea. So I'm there. You need someone to do the work, give it to him.
You got the humble part down.
All right.
Yeah.
I have an Excel sheet with 15,000 lines. He'll sort it out. That's
you got the humble part down. I can see that. I think again this is really, really valuable stuff. And I guess my last I could probably talk to you about career advice for hours and hours. My last real question to you is like, what can we expect from you in the future? And what kind of last pieces of advice do you have for anyone who's watching this and, again, maybe wants to be like you or is kind of entering the workspace now?
Okay. What can you expect from me? I don't know. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we'll see. The industry, our industry is changing so much with AI, with machine learning. I think data science is a new field. I think that's something that's growing. So any new person out there that's in the data science field, you have a lottery of jobs coming up for you. It's going to be great. So that's definitely something I want to explore. That's the future. So I need to keep up with it. That's all I can tell you.
Data science is the new .com.
Yeah, just do what you like. I wouldn't say don't try to be like someone. Obviously, you want to be where someone is. You want to achieve that position. So see how they got there. But be yourself. Be humble. You will be happy when you are yourself and people appreciate you for you. So if you get into this whole rut where you just talked about everyone being competitive and I'm going to talk nice to this manager and do this and do this. Eventually they're going to be unhappy because they're not being real with their personalities. But be yourself wherever you are, wherever you get to. It's because of your personality. You're going to be happy there. You're going to be happy in that space. So.
I feel like you deserved it too.
Yeah, and you deserved it. And at the end of the day, if you didn't get the salary you wanted or that promotion you wanted, you love what you're doing. You're in the right space. Mentally, you're clear. Yeah.
Cool. Well, again, I think I think that's great advice. I think again, the reason I value it so much is you've been doing it for a lot longer than I have, and a lot longer than a lot of people I speak to have, and I think it's really commendable for you to be in one industry for so long, be so passionate about, and you've let it take you all around the world in a place. So in a time, especially now, where it's a lot of more of like instant gratification, quick job, is more money, career, company hopping, and things like that. So, I mean, I'm really appreciative, Masa. Thank you for sitting down with me. What size T-shirt do you wear?
Large.
Do you like white or black?
Black.
Black. All right. Well, I have a surprise for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. This is a thank you just for being. We don't sell these yet, to anyone. We only really give these to people that are.
Mine's gonna be for sale.
Yeah. Wait till we're booming. You have one of the original shirts.
Nice.
But this is a thank you from us. Everyone who's either working in the company or has been a guest on the show has had it. She made nice T-shirts, like high quality. One of our previous guests, she actually runs her own company where they do printing and again, like creating quality merchandise. And she was amazing and worked together with us to create these. So this is for you. I'm gonna throw it to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Adarsh.
Yeah. Enjoy
This is
that.
great.
You can rep the gross you wherever you want to go. It's funny. Without even realizing it, a lot of the people that we've had on before, they all sometimes post content and things, and without even like them tagging us, or I just see them. Oh my God, he's working out in our T-shirt. So it's pretty cool. I hope you, whenever you go work out or go, working from home one day, throw it on. I'm sure you like it. But
awesome.
Again, seriously, thank you so much. Really appreciative, and I think again, hearing the advice from someone like you who's been entry level. And now someone that actually has interns and has hired people and been in an interview stage, like interviewing people, and has, again, done it in so many different places. It's really good, really, again, valuable insight into all this kind of, the world of career, the world of careers and jobs, like kind of post-graduation. So thank you again. Really appreciate it. If you have any last shout-outs you want to give to the camera?
Yeah, well, thanks a lot. I mean, thank you for having me. First of all, this was great experience. Even just me talking through my life, it makes me realize, like, oh, wow, I've gone through quite a bit.
Yeah, you've done a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I really, this was good fun.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
really
it again.
Appreciate it.
So, it's just exciting, I think, again.
Yeah, and I wish you all the luck. I mean, I'm very happy you're doing this. It's, coming from an Indian family, it's very out of the norm that you quit a 9 to 5 and you know, you want to start something like this. But like I said, if you put your work behind it, it's going to happen.
Yeah, thank you. No, I really appreciate it. It's really me and Yesh were even talking about it yesterday. We were just saying how no one in our circle that's our age is like doing something like this, not in a good or a bad way, just more of like it is. I didn't realize how out of the norm it really was. Even when I started doing it, I didn't think it was that much out of the norm. When you really think about it, it is. But the only reason I'm doing this now is so I can help people who are doing the norm, which is not a bad thing at all. No. But basically, like, if I can do this and I can help more people do what they want to do, and like most people think I'm helping people either get to become an entrepreneur or get a job. It's not that. I just want to help people get to where they want to be. Yeah. And by having people on like you, giving advice and giving free value, free game to everyone, that's my way of helping them get there. So yeah, last thing.
I hope I could have helped a few people.
I think so. Yeah. Guys, if you like this, please like, share, subscribe. And again, if you ever run into Neel at BMW, drive BMW, know that there's a lot of effort and grinding that goes into creating those cars. So guys, go get a BMW, right?
Do it.
Yeah, that's all we have for you today. Please again, like, comment, share, subscribe, do your thing. Thank you guys for watching. That's a wrap.
Thank you.
Done. Cut.
Awesome. This is
cool.
great, man.
Yeah. Thank you for doing it.
Yeah. No.
That was super cool hearing about